Did I blow everybody's speakers out? It's your boy Dave from the 408. It's the Shoeshine. You know what it is. Monday nights, the return of the Shoeshine, January 25th, 2021. I'm your boy Dave from the 408, coming all the way from my studio in San Jose, California. Yo, guys, and I'm ecstatic to have a stellar panel back tonight, as always. My co-host, all the way from Philadelphia. And I know you should be happy because Philadelphia has a new champion. They got a brand new champion. I'm talking about none other than Stephen Fulton, who won and headlined the Showtime sports fight on Saturday night. But let me just introduce our special guest co-host, Mr. RawboxingTv, Ranger. ¿Qué pasa?
What's going on, my peoples? What's going on? Glad to be here. Hope we have a good show that you guys can enjoy. And don't forget to just share it all over your social media platforms.
Most definitely. Right now, we are live. I posted this. We're live on Periscope. We'll be posting the show later to YouTube, as well as our homies from Leave It in the Ring Network. You can catch them on Pandora, wherever you stream the podcast. We do put them up immediately afterwards, probably by tomorrow. So definitely looking forward to Leave It in the Ring. And as a matter of fact, I want to give David a shout out because I just watched this show earlier today at 5 o'clock. And they had the co-main guy who upset my Bay Area guy, Vicious Vic Pasillas. Rais the Beast Alim, fighting out of Las Vegas, gave him a special interview. And I have to tell you guys, at 120, so the fight was really based on 122 pounds bantamweights, super bantamweights, right? And I was really excited. I mean, this was a really well put together card. It actually turned out pretty good for people who didn't want to pay for the real. The big star of the night was Conor McGregor, and what happened to Conor McGregor in the UFC. And I do want to get to that. But Drew, your thoughts on the fact that Philadelphia, I mean, I know our football teams aren't doing too well, and we're looking at the Chiefs, and we're looking at Tom Brady. So we got nobody to root for, but we got Philadelphia fighter Stephen Fulton. Your thoughts on having the latest champion, having a new champion?
By the way, the Sixers are 12-6 now, by the way. We're the best team in the East as far as fans, but we do have a new champion, and it's a shame it's not in a well-known division that's really on all the time, that's not like big in boxing when it comes to like exposure, the 122 weight division, because there's not really any big names as there in that division. So well, he has the opportunity to make it a bigger name, possibly, but we gotta hope that it's up to the promoters and the network how to promote this division.
Right. I want to say this about this about the 122 division is you know that El Vaquero, who is just moved up in weight from 122 to 126, and he beat Ruben from Salinas, Ruben Villa. He was a beast at 122, but he abandoned his belt, and that just gave all these opportunities. But in the first fight of the night on Saturday night on Showtime, they had Raleigh Rolando Romero, a Cuban descent, a Las Vegas kid, born and raised in Las Vegas. He also is interesting about the guy who fought after him is that they're also martial artists. He comes from a family of martial artists. But in the last fight, if you guys remember, Raleigh Romero, he's been knocking out all kinds of people, lower opposition. And the 135-pound weight division is stacked with talent. I mean, that's all we talk about now. We talk about Ryan Garcia, we talk about Gervonta Davis, we talk about Teofimo Lopez. But Raleigh Romero came out with like a chip on his shoulder, because a lot of people think that against Jackson Martinez, maybe I got it wrong, that he got a gift decision the last time. And he didn't look all that great. He looked kind of one-dimensional. But, Drew, they put in the guy from Philly, Avery Sparrow, and he wrecked shop on him. I mean, it's like he had a bone to pick. You know what I mean? I know you're shaking your head. What do you think about Raleigh Romero, Mr. RawboxingTV? Is he going to be a threat to any of the top guys at 135?
Okay, I'm Cuban. So I ain't going, but just because I'm Cuban, I'm not going to be biased. I got to be real.
That.
I hope not.
I got to be real. Raleigh I'm not gonna down dog any fighter because I gotta respect every fighter that gets in the ring. Rolly Romero's, I think the mouth is a lot bigger than his talent. Now, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. When you possess power, you have the potential of going far based on power alone. And he's not a bad boxer, but he's not a very good boxer either. I think Rolly Romero's is a bit stiff for my liking right now. He's still a work in progress. Let's not forget about that. But I think he needs to put on the work and stay focused on it because he's in a weight division where, like you said, there's talent everywhere you go. It doesn't matter. If you lift the couch, there's talent. You open the closet door, there's talent. It doesn't matter where you go in the 135-pound division, you're going to find talented fighters there. And so with that being said, right now, I don't think he's ready for the top 5 of those division. Maybe not the top 10 of those division, to be honest with you. But I'm not going to say he doesn't have the potential to get better and continue to progress in his career. He absolutely does. Only thing that it's required is a little more humility, being able to recognize your flaws, being able to work on him, and put in the time inside the gym. And he should do a lot more than what he's done so far. But not bad, but not as good as he sells himself to be.
Yeah, he definitely was. People had looked upon him before he fought Jackson Martinez as a knockout artist, and it just all seemed to fall apart with the fans. Social media had a really strong back reaction to what he did in that fight. But this fight, Drew, he seemed like he's calling out people almost immediately. And of course, Las Vegas is a great town for fighters at 130, 135 pounds. One of our friends of the show, Francisco Esparza, has been in there sparring with everyone in Las Vegas in that weight division. And Raleigh has his eyes set on the one other kid that's in his age range. That's a big, he's got the house, he's got the fancy cars. I'm talking about Devin Haney, Drew.
We talked about his last fight. Romero's last fight when we both said he lost the fight. He fought like crap.
He got most people's eyes, he got a gift decision. But now he's talking big things, and he's eyeing Devin Haney. What do you think, Ranger, what do you think he sees in Devin Haney of all the guys he could call out at 135, aside from these guys maybe having beef in the gym in Las Vegas? Of course, it's a very small, tight-knit community of boxing gyms. He's calling out that one. He wants Devin Haney.
I think what he sees in David Haney is the same thing everybody sees, and it's a mistake that they make. They see a fighter that doesn't have power. And so they think they're going to get in there and take all of his punches just to be able to land a few and knock him out. What they fail to realize is that whatever David Haney lacks on power, he compensates for in defense and in technique. He's a very sharp shooter. Now, that's another fighter that's not the boogeyman, in my opinion, but he's a hell of a boxer. He knows how to take your punches away. He has an excellent jab. He knows how to control the mid-range and the out. He can control the pace of the fight. He can move counterclock while implementing counter punches. He can set traps. I don't think Rolly realizes what he's saying. But then again, you just never know with a puncher. That's about the only chance I can give him. I don't see him landing nothing significant on Haney, but that is his best shot, is to land something that changes the course of the night, if you will.
Right. Martinez, Jackson Martinez, seemed to expose Raleigh as someone whose defense wasn't really that good. And in this fight, again, I kind of saw that Rolly Romero, he was kind of doing that thing that we saw Ryan Garcia do, is keep his neck up, which makes him very hittable. Of course, he's a huge puncher. Drew, do you think he's got a chance? Do you think he's ready for Devin Haney? But and if you don't, do you appreciate the fact that he's at least calling out the top guys, making a name for himself?
You wonder why people really call out Devin Haney like he has no power, but you wonder what they really think him as? They think of him as Paulie Malignaggi, a guy with no power, can box. But the difference between them two is Devin has defense. Paulie Malignaggi doesn't. He got hit a lot in his career. That's what people don't see. Like they see, Paulie, he don't have power. He's an excellent boxer. Paulie doesn't have really great defense. But I did say that if Paulie had power, Paulie would have only lost like 1 or 2 fights in his career, in my opinion. But Devin Haney is one thing. He's a counterpuncher. He's an excellent one. If you watched him fight, and he has excellent defense. Roy Romero is a bit of a sloppy fighter still. Devin will counter him easily. And it's a good thing that he's trying to call people out. But I don't think, like Ranger said, he doesn't beat the top 10. He doesn't even beat the top 15, in my opinion. He's a work in progress. I don't think he's ready for the big time fights yet because he's still a sloppy fighter.
Most definitely. Now, it's really hard to make a name for yourself in the 135-pound division when today, all of boxing, social media, combat sports, the only thing people seem to want to talk about is the young star of boxing, Ryan Garcia. And I almost hate to say that, but he's trending everywhere with the talks that he is going to capitalize on the fact that Conor McGregor got his ass knocked out this weekend, and that potential $50 million payday is just burned up in thin air at this point. And so, I mean, I give Rolly Romero credit for trying to make some noise, and actually, he seemed to, redeem himself this past weekend. Yeah, Ranger, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say you did made a good point there that I forgot. In boxing right now, one of the things that we're lacking is fighters calling out each other and really mean it. I do have to give him credit on that side. Every fighter that's calling out another fighter. However, I would like to see next to that calling out, it's some paperwork. Send the ultimatum in the same way that David Haney did to Gary Rosser Jr. That he's sending that ultimatum. That's words being backed by paperwork, something we can appreciate a little more. But yeah, man, Rolly is still a work in progress. He needs to be a little less stiff. Relax in there. When you relax in the gym, I'm telling you from my own experience, you're able to execute movement a little better. You can come in and out. You can implement your boxing skills a little better. You can reserve energy. And so Rolly, I think his team really needs to dissect this fighter. They really need to dissect him, then call him, sit him down, and tell him, look, this is what you're doing wrong. This is what you're doing wrong. We need to start working on this. And like I said, work in progress. But if you're going to talk about McGregor, if you want me to get into it, I'll also talk about that.
Yeah. And Drew, credit to Philadelphia. I do give his opponent, his name is Sparrow, a guy from Philadelphia, a tough kid who's looked good in some past fights. He came in as a last-minute replacement, so he didn't look great. But again, we're still in the COVID era where people are just not. Sometimes people fail to appear to be doing their best in there for whatever reason it is, the gym environment probably. But the second fight of the night, and I just mentioned David from Leave It in the Ring Network. He had the guy who won the fight, Rais, the Beast Alim, defeated a local guy that has moved up here to Redwood City, California, who I was so high on because Vicious Vic Pasillas, in his last fight on PBC, he moved up from 122 to featherweight and destroyed a featherweight. And he was kind of floating around in between weight. And you know, at these smaller weight classes that just go randomly up a weight class, he was trying to feel out his strength. He demolished the guy. He's got 4 knockouts in a row. He had an amateur record of over 200 wins and 6 losses. And he fought another undefeated guy from Michigan who now makes Las Vegas his home, was training with Bones Adam, which is our friend Francisco Esparza's former trainer. Bones Adam, just a local great coach in Las Vegas. Drew, this guy, like Cobra Kai, our old co-host here on the show, Crab Daddy, Cobra Kai, Crab Daddy, he's been a black belt since the age of 13 in karate. And if you remember Cobra Kai, no mercy. And he showed no mercy on Vic Pasillas, dropping him 3 times. It's back to the drawing board, Ranger. For a guy who's undefeated himself, like Vic Pasillas, Vicious Vic Pasillas, where does he go from here after, thinking people had been telling him, hey, you look like a real serious contender, like you are ready for a title shot. You're a future potential champion. But he gets dropped. I mean, they literally practically throw in the towel on him in this fight.
He got smoked.
Yeah, he got smoked. I was telling people who did watch the fight, I'm like, we're sleeping on this guy, the Beast Aleem, because what he did that tonight was really special.
Yeah. One of the things we got to look at a fighter like that is, as a coach, is like you go back and examine where is he at mentally. First is where is he at mentally? How is he processing his loss? Because a fighter writes along his career while undefeated at a certain level of pride. You know, I'm undefeated. I'm good. I'm doing great. You can't fathom. You can't picture you not losing. So when a fighter loses, the first thing you need to see, where is he at psychologically? Call him. Check on him every single day. You know, see what happens when you get back to town. You know, if you go back to town, does he stay away from the gym or does he go right back in it? You know, those are things you want to keep your eye on. If your fighter is right back in it, then you know you have good potential for reworking or going back to the drawing board and executing better things, correcting the things that went wrong. If you have a fighter that doesn't even show up for a week or so or seems down, the best thing you can do is just keep encouraging him, and at the end of the day, it's still going to be up to him. But this situation, this is a make or break for a career. This is where most fighters that have an undefeated record and lose, with all of that noise going around their heads, like, dude, you're ready for this, bro. You're going to be the man. This is where their careers either take a little plateau and then go up, or a little plateau and then drop fast. It's depending on how they handle it. Example, look at Wilder. Where's Wilder? He's still trying to figure out where man is at.
Well, Wilder's back in the news today, and I definitely want to get back to this because one thing I know is that Drew Evo loves Wilder gossip. Man, did you see that already, Drew, today about the Charlos? Ranger, tell us what you were saying about the Charlos.
So they were saying that the Charlos came out and said that Tyson Fury didn't cheat. And so I was saying that the Charlo brother are going to be denounced by the LWBC now because, you know, how can you say something in favor of Fury and against Wilder, you know?
Drew, your thoughts on the Charlos disowning their PBC stablemate?
Well, first I want to speak on that last thing we were talking about. I wanted to say something. The best thing for him, since he's like, bring up somebody that was really hyped around, was undefeated for a while, was a champion probably, and suffered that loss. Let's say like Prince Hassim Ahmed, undefeated. No one could beat him. He was making fools out of people. He finally got his mouth shut by Marco Antonio Pereira. He never saw the dude again. Instead of trying to rebound and get back in the ring, they need to bring up stuff like that to him. And say, you want to be like Prince Hassim Ahmed and quit on a career once he loses, or you want to get back in the ring, rebound, avenge your loss, and get better and get it because you can still be a champion. That's the thing they should point out to him. You can still retain that goal after one loss. It's not going to kill your career. Because a lot of fighters, some fighters today, they let one loss kill their career. Wilder right now is letting, and let's get to the next point. Wilder is letting this one loss kill his career. He's actually making an ass out of himself more and more. First with the claims, then he goes MIA, then he claims the contract. He had the right to get a third fight with Fury, and then he's filing people. Then all this video came out about that he wore gloves, changed right before that were illegal to change, and JD's with a bag of white stuff in the ring. They show footage of that too. What else is gonna happen with Deontay Wilder? Now they rumor that he's gonna fight a nobody, guy Chris Martin that was actually given a championship title because the guy he fought was injured during the fight, wound up getting knocked out by Anthony Joshua in the second fight, in an easy fight, may I add, to fight a nobody, which he's probably gonna knock out in like one round.
Well, we're talking about rebuilding fighters. Drew, you remember when we first started off the show, we talked to a Bay Area fighter that I follow extensively, a guy from San Jose, top-ranked fighter, Andy El Tiburon Vences, and he ended up going into getting his first career loss. He was a highly touted 130-pound prospect contender, so to say, and you know that division is hot, the 130 pounds, right, Ranger? So our friend
Yep.
experienced his first loss coming off the Bay Area, and he had to regroup and work with his trainers and work with Peter Kahn, his manager, and to get himself back in the win column, and he didn't let that stop him. But in the same sense, we've got Vic Pasillas now, who's working out of Redwood City, California. This isn't an area that's, aside from Snack Nutrition, that's known for attracting top sparring partners. Ranger, because you've been in and out of a lot of gyms, man, and training people and whatnot. His opponent went from Michigan to Vegas and was working with some top coaches, top sparring out in Vegas. Even Devin Haney, originally from Oakland, California, packed up his bags with his dad and left to Vegas because, say what you want, there's probably elite level sparring. I'm wondering, because right now the Bay Area is in a real, I mean, we're in a dry rut. Like we haven't had a champion since Andre Ward or Donaire, the Ghost Guerrero. Robert Guerrero. We're waiting for our new champ. So Drew, you need to understand how envious I am today that Philadelphia has the latest champion. But Ranger, honestly, does staying in an area that doesn't attract top sparring, can it really have a negative impact? Because I feel like maybe Vic Pasillas hit a ceiling this week. And maybe he may have to think about taking his training camps to Los Angeles or Las Vegas.
Yeah, and that's a good point you just made, because I'll tell you my own experience. One of the reasons I decided not to continue my boxing career, one, was because the area where I lived, even though it's the city of the greatest of all time, Muhammad Ali, boxing was dead. As a young man who really got no support from his family, because in my fights, mom never went to my fights and nothing. As a young man that never got support from his family, I also didn't see a potential in my city for boxing. No worthy opponent to even get in the ring and spar. No worthy promotional companies. And then the time we did have two promotional companies come into the town. One was Bug Eye Promotions and the other one was Pills Promotions. They throw shows, the fighters fight, and none of them get paid. So as a fighter, you're starting to see all of this stuff and you can get discouraged a bit. So what they need to do with this young man now is present all of these negative things to him and then put it in a balance for him. What do you want to do? Do you want to stay here and potentially not attract good sparring partners? Do you want to stay here and potentially not have a good psychological impulse in your career? Or would you rather take 3 months or 2 months out of your life and go down to Vegas or wherever it may be and implement this training camp so that we can have a better chance on your comeback fight? Because right now it's make or break. Right now is the time for him to come back and make a statement, right? Make a statement and just continue on in his career. So you are right when you say that your surroundings, the area where you live, can have an impact in your career. It doesn't matter if you're a dedicated boxer. It doesn't matter if you don't drink, smoke, or do drugs. It doesn't matter if you don't party. If you go into the gym and you psychologically are not seeing progress around your town, around other gyms, whenever you got tournaments, you don't see the support of other fighters. If you don't see none of that, then psychologically you see nothing to push you forward. So that's the time you have to balance your career or the area where you want to live. You have to make the choice.
Drew Evo, man, Stephen Fulton, he really impressed me. You've got this other guy, Boots Ennis, who's on the precipice of maybe doing huge things at 147 pounds. He could potentially in the next year be a welterweight champion.
He's a future welterweight champion.
You know, I may not disagree with you from what I'm seeing. You know, I'm going to love to see him in 2021. But you got Stephen Fulton, and we're talking about gyms. What makes Philadelphia, for someone like me who's never traveled to Philadelphia, what makes it a town that produces so many great fighters?
Mm-hmm. Thing is, a lot of these fighters pride themselves on defense, like Bernard Hopkins. In my opinion, the greatest fighter of all time, in my opinion. My all-time favorite fighter.
So you still think that he's had that influence for that whole next generation of kids that grew up in the streets, maybe, hit the gyms?
He had, the thing is, going to jail, being in prison, boxing in prison, coming back out and having the career that he has, and not only being my opinion the greatest middleweight of all time, and having the most title defenses in a row, not Triple G going, let's make 20, let's make 18, and let's forget about he loses one belt and loses his belts.
Wait, is
and
that
everything.
amnesia?
Yeah, and Bernard Hopkins it was that type of fighter that everybody tries to mimic in Philly, in my opinion, that can make you fight his fight and look bad doing it. And that's what it was. They look up to him as a fighter. As you got to have pure defense. You got to have that psychological mind to fight in boxing, because at the end of the day, Bernard thought he was at a disadvantage of a lot of things. But he used his IQ, his boxing IQ, and his defense to beat a lot of these fighters. And all these other fighters that look at it say the first thing they want to do is get good defense. Make sure I don't get hit, and if I get hit, make sure I don't take the full blow of that punch, or counter him. Like this Fulton, he's fast. He has good hand speed.
Yeah, he beat Angelo Leo to the punch, Ranger. He beat him to the punch almost in every exchange. And Angelo Leo, who was the champion, who had just earned that belt, this fight for Stephen Fulton had been delayed because of coronavirus, because he had contracted coronavirus, which made that win even more special, because it was his first fight coming off coronavirus, and to still be able to beat Angelo Leo. And Angelo Leo's, like we were just talking about, kids that move from one town with their father and just pack up everything. He's a transplant. He moved to Las Vegas.
And he's also was another undefeated fighter.
They're both undefeated. Yeah. It was a spectacular card. Now, again, I'm looking forward to Fulton being, the latest addition to Philadelphia champions. It was a stellar fight, I thought, but it was all outshadowed by what was going on in the MMA, Ranger, because even Ranger told me, flipping channels, and maybe you were more excited about what was going on, because Conor McGregor, up until this week, had been talking about fighting Manny Pacquiao. We started seeing all these celebrity fights, and here comes Conor McGregor again with the possibility to fight a pound-for-pound legend, Manny Pacquiao, and it went up in thin smoke. Let me just see if I can pull up just a couple of pictures of that. But Ranger, your thoughts on Conor McGregor coming off another long layoff?
What I saw in Conor McGregor was a little gazelle in the floor gasping for air. He got destroyed, man. Listen, Justin Poirier, whether he was rust or not, look, Conor McGregor, the first thing he did is he opened his legs even wider. His torso, he dropped it a little lower. He didn't fight like he usually fights himself. Justin was able to see that his legs was open so wide, and he said, why not? Let me check that calf. And he started checking that calf, and he started causing damage. Not only that, from time to time, he was beating McGregor to the punch. And this fight was over in the second, I believe. It was over, but why? Because McGregor gasped. McGregor saw a fighter in front of him that was not going anywhere, that no matter what he did to him, he had an answer for it. And then, man, Justin caught him against the fence, landed a beautiful right hook to the face, dropped him, and that was over. Went for the kill. And that was over. And I'm not going to sit here and say I'm glad it happened. I'm simply going to say I'm just glad that the Pacquiao fight is not happened, because boxing is at a state right now where he needs a little more respect than he's getting. And in my opinion, fights like this add nothing for boxing.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because this weekend I was reading that the Mayweather fight, which has already gone into pre-sales, Floyd Mayweather fighting the YouTuber, Jake Paul's brother, Logan Paul, it might get postponed or completely canceled, is what I'm reading. And that already has pre-sales. I'm not sure what's going on in the negotiations. A couple of rumors that I've read are that Floyd is asking Logan Paul, who walks around as a cruiserweight heavyweight, to drop down in weight too much. Like all these new stipulations. That's a rumor I'm reading. The weight class is becoming an issue, and that possibly pre-sales are not going as good as expected. Is this a rejection of fans? Ranger, you're saying you're glad Conor McGregor's not going to be getting the opportunity, but Drew, he's a fellow countryman. And by the way, guys, I am drinking whiskey, and I really should chill because I end up starting to...
And I am drinking Powerade.
Oh, good for you.
Damn
Good
sure
for you.
not chilling.
But by the way, Drew, have you ever tried Conor McGregor's whiskey? Proper 12.
The last time I ever drank whiskey was Christian Brothers.
Christian Brothers. I thought they just make brandy. It's funny you say that. It's funny you say Christian Brothers because I wanted to say something about Christian Brothers before the show is over. Before the show's over, I'll explain my story here. But Drew, yeah, he's a fellow countryman. Were you surprised that Conor McGregor got knocked out like that?
Yes and no. Yes, because I didn't think he'll get beat by this guy. No, and two, that's what you get when you take all this time off, inactivity. Let's think about this. If you look at it, there's a big difference between being inactive in boxing and being inactive in MMA. Boxing, you only throw punches. And you can prepare yourself to take those punches. In MMA, you gotta prepare to kick them in the legs. You gotta prepare for wrestling, takedowns. You name it, you bring it. You gotta prepare for all of that. He, in the last 4 years, has only fought twice.
How many times has he retired?
I don't know. I lost count.
I think Ranger and I were exchanging that.
I am really happy. I'm really happy because he ain't fighting Manny Pacquiao now. Because fights like this killed this sport. And I'm tired, and I'm really tired of people disrespecting this sport, like Jake Paul trying to call people out, say I'm taking this serious, and it's a freaking disgrace that he has a 2-0 pro boxing record. And he didn't fight no pro fighters and everything.
Nope.
So before you try to call somebody out that's not a boxer to fight you, if you're taking this sport seriously, why don't you go fight some boxers, dude? Some rank boxers, man. If not, take your BS to YouTube or something, which we are on YouTube, but take your BS literally to YouTube, make your money, live down your mommy and daddy's basement still of their mansion, because it's probably not your mansion, and enjoy your life, because at the end of the day, Conor McGregor will still kick your ass. And like seriously, this is the type of crap that kills a sport like boxing. Like it's like a freak show. Like it's a circus. Yes. And all these other fighters should feel the same way, that their livelihoods are being disrespected by this crap.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
This is Johnny.
Yes. Who's this?
Is Johnny?
This is Danny.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I had a guest that wanted to call. I wanted to call back, then I actually dialed the wrong number, guys. So I apologize about that. But he wanted to really speak on the show. So apologize for ruining that segment. But anyways, now we're back. We're going back to Conor McGregor blows his shot. The rumor is it was a $50 million potential payday for him against Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao saw the success that other people like Floyd Mayweather had fighting him and said, why not? You know, why not do it? He was all about it. It seemed he had no objections to it. But now, of course, the market is probably not going to demand it. And here comes Ryan Garcia, the young Instagram phenom. So whether you love him or hate him, look at Drew's
love
face.
this already. I hope he gets. I know he's gonna get his ass kicked.
All right, let's just. Go ahead, Ranger.
I'm glad to be real with you. I'm glad that this is an exhibition and not a real boxing match, because if this was a real boxing match, that would be such a stupid move to make.
So you said exhibition. You said exhibition. I can't find the story that says one way or another if it's going to be a real. They're both real boxers.
David Haney and Tank Davis have both posted that is in fact an exhibition match. That is a disrespect to the sport, and for that reason, they don't want to fight him anymore. So they're going to move on to the next. That's what they said. So as of now, the only thing we've heard from closed source is that it's an exhibition. I thought as of yesterday, I was under the impression that it was going to be a real fight, but fighters keeps coming out and saying that is in fact an exhibition match.
Drew's shaking his head. That these are two professional fighters, and I can think off the top of my head the past 5 years, fighters who've made the challenge and challenged themselves. 2 weight divisions. Amir Khan fought Canelo Alvarez in a pay-per-view special. We had the other British guy who got his eye sockets, orbital bones. Always Kelbrook went up 2 weight division to fight Gennady Golovkin. Why does Ryan Garcia think he gets a free pass on his record to get an exhibition match? Drew, you're shaking your head.
Nah, I'm really pissed off now.
You really? I thought you were pissed off before that. Now you're really pissed off.
Like, no, I'm really pissed off because how the hell do 2 active fighters get to fight in an exhibition? There's no way in hell there's to allow this. Like, seriously, like, Ryan Garcia can easily make 140 or 147 to fight Manny Pacquiao. Are you kidding me?
In fact, I think his weight, looking at his height and his youth and his age, that he's most definitely going to fight at welterweight naturally someday. You know, as they say, the man strength kicks in and your body changes. Ranger, the idea of people paying, for which people are used to paying for Manny Pacquiao pay-per-views. The idea of paying to watch him in essentially what they're calling an exhibition was more likely like sparring between 2 top athletes.
Let me say a few things here, man, because I get why Drew's pissed. I'm also pissed. First, I was pissed when I found out that it was a potential fight, thinking it was a real fight. Then I find out it ain't even a real fight. It's an exhibition match. And now it's kind of like, wow. You know what I mean? So, but the first thing I got to say is, first of all, look at how much of a joke the sport is becoming. Let's start with that, okay? Look how much boxing is suffering. Let's start. Look at what you're doing to your career. Look at all of the fights that you could be making. Look how excited fans were that you were calling out Tank Davis, and for what he looked like, the fight was a go. Look at all of this excitement that was being built around your victory against Luke Campbell, and then you're gonna tell us you're gonna put headgear or you're gonna put gloves, 10-ounce gloves, and go against Manny Pacquiao. This is not gonna be the same success as Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones. It's not. It's not. And I'm thinking that they saw the numbers that these 2 fighters brought in, and they're like, I can make a little bit of that, but they don't realize these are legends. But this exhibition match, to me, makes no sense. And it also makes no sense to me, even if it's a real fight. How in the hell are you making that move when you have so many good fights to make at 135 pounds? When you have so many good fights to make at 130 pounds?
Most definitely. Drew, is it just Manny Pacquiao not wanting to take a huge risk, make some money, and avoid fighting Errol Spence or some tough young lions like Boots Ennis from Philadelphia? I mean, there's a whole slew of people he could challenge himself with.
Thing is, is this even for Manny or is it even for Ryan Garcia? That's the question, because Manny Pacquiao just beat Keith Thurman, a guy in his prime. Yeah. And he was actually looking forward to fight Terrence Crawford after Ramadan in the Middle East this year. So is this Ryan not wants to fight a legend but doesn't want to risk his undefeated record?
Yeah, the question of making a blemish on his record, which Canelo Alvarez took with Mayweather. Maybe he wasn't ready for Mayweather. Many people could argue that, but it did not impact his career. I mean, yeah, we can see that now.
Thing is, man, this is nah. I don't want to see this exhibition. Exhibition. You're gonna fight him. You're gonna put the regular gloves on. You're gonna fight like you mean. You're gonna try to knock his ass out. And if you don't and you lose, you lose. You learn from it. Take it from your boy Canelo when he got a boxing lesson from Mayweather that night and everything. Maybe it helps you out too. Maybe it stops you from putting your stupid chin out and hope to get knocked out.
Whoa, you're gonna piss off
as of right now,
the Ryan Garcia
as of right
fans.
now, you a Mexican American to me. You do the same stuff as
American. Ranger, maybe you can help refresh my memory, but Manuel Marquez fought Mayweather and moved up 2 weight classes.
Yeah.
From 135, I believe, lightweight to welterweight to take on that, to challenge himself. And yes, he was defeated, but he came back to knock out Manny Pacquiao, and have some stellar end to his career.
And not only that, but I mean, I can see why Marquez thought that maybe he could have had a chance. We had a Mayweather that had been retired for close to 2 years when that fight took place. But then again, we're still talking about a real boxing match between Marquez and Mayweather. You flip the switch to Pacquiao and Ryan Garcia, and we're talking about an exhibition, bro. This is a black stain anywhere you want to put it, because think about this. Say it is an exhibition. It's a joke. Say it is a good fight. Say it is a real fight. Then we're potentially having a Ryan Garcia that can be broken in that fight. 147 fight, 2-weight division jump against a guy with the tenacity of Manny Pacquiao. This is a bad move. It doesn't matter which way it takes place.
Remember when we first talked about the Logan Paul Mayweather fight was made, and you say, Drew, what you think about this fight? And excuse my French, I say it was a fucking joke.
Yeah.
This is an even bigger fucking joke.
Yeah.
So
because there's 2 active fighters. I'm sorry, Dave. My bad, Dave. These are 2 active fighters. You got one that's a champion. There's a welterweight champion. You got one that's an up and coming fighter. He's supposed to be fighting Tank with Devin Haney, and he's gonna get out of those fights to do an exhibition with an active fighter.
Yeah, man.
He's a mandatory.
I think we're all shaking our head. Again, according to, let me see, this latest article I read, which is off a Bad Left Hook, is that nothing is set in stone. It's all conjecture at this moment. But King Ryan is promoting it, and we know that his social media game is so strong that people were going to take it as fact, as opposed to fake news. So they're taking this as fact. But if it does end up being a exhibition, I think fight fans should equally point the finger at Manny Pacquiao and be upset at him too for that, because Ryan Garcia is a grown man, and if he could take this loss, I don't think it would even affect his career. Down the road.
Of this real quick. Look at the consequences of this real quick. Because of this joke, now we have 2 good potential fights that he could have had at 135. Say, okay, so he chose to fight Pacquiao in an exhibition. To me, that's a joke. We're moving on to the next fight. That's it. 2 fights gone. 2 very good fights that could have taken place at 135 pounds with Tank and then David Haney. Now they're not even interested on him. Now, to say that they will fight at 140. But all I know is that a fight that could have taken place now, when the division is packed with talent, when the division is hot, now it's down the drain. It's down the drain.
Now, here's a question I have. Since he's the mandatory for the WBC title, Ryan, and that's Devin Haney, can they take him out as the mandatory for refusing to take the fight?
Well, no, because there's 2 mandatory. There's also Fortuna. So
yeah,
they can use that.
Who's his spot to Fortuna then?
Yeah. But I mean, the Fortuna fight is more credible as we speak because of the negotiations between Sampson and Bill Haney. I think Sampson's told Bill Haney, look, if you give Fortuna $600,000, which is what you gave Gamboa, the fight is a go. I'm not gonna get in the way. I'll allow Fortuna to fight Haney. But then again, you got to think it's the WBC we're talking about. The belt that creates most confusion right now. So, man, I'm telling you,
you're gonna get Drew all kinds of sideways, because the WBC, we're moving on from Ryan Garcia.
Yes,
We're just
please.
this is all just a hypothesis. We're just hypothesizing here. But the WBC definitely had their hands full in this fight with Canelo Alvarez, which is his next fight. And a lot of fans are upset about that one too. I don't know. I don't know if I'm that upset, to be honest, Ranger. Now, we're talking about him fighting his mandatory, and the WBC claims a guy that hasn't really looked special or top 5, who's actually been a sparring partner before, Avni Yildirim. Is that correct? Avni Yildirim. He's a big guy, no doubt. They have experience fighting each other, sparring partners. But this fight is going to be Canelo Alvarez's first time in Miami, Florida, which, you know, Florida's compared to the rest of the states, California and Nevada, they're really open for business. And this is going to have a live gate. And maybe that was a decision in having the fight there. Of course, they're going to have the Super Bowl in Florida in February. So a lot of stuff going on. Ranger, your thoughts on the WBC putting Avni so high up, calling him a mandatory so Canelo can save face? Is Canelo just saving face? Is this all the WBC's work?
Oh, okay. Let me say a few things here. So first of all, again, we go back to the same thing. It's the WBC. It's the Mauricio Suleiman bullcrap, as I like to call it, right? This is the scheme to make the money. This is the scheme to get another title and pay another sanctioning fee, right? But I can't be that mad at Canelo, even though this fight doesn't interest me at all. I'm gonna watch it because I'm a fight fan, and wherever there's a fight, I want to be there. I'm gonna watch it, but I can tell you that this is not even a fighter that belongs to be in the ring with Canelo, regardless if they've shared the ring as sparring partners. But I do understand why it's taking place.
Good, that's good.
There's a legal matter in the way here that people are ignoring, especially the Canelo haters. Here's the deal, guys. Yildirim has already taken step-aside decisions so that the fight with Smith was able to take place. But there was condition. There wasn't only money there. There was money plus condition. The condition was, I'll step aside, but then my fight with you has to happen, has to be negotiated within 90 days. That's why you see Canelo's getting right back in the ring in less than 60 days to fight Yildirim. So the legal aspect, I can understand why the legal aspect is forcing this fight. Now, the boxing side of it, I don't understand it. This is not an opponent for Canelo. I think Canelo's just going to take this easy work, get him out the way, add another win to his record, and potentially go after the unification of the weight division versus Saunders. That's my take on it.
Yeah, and that's a great take. I'm not going to even argue that take because, Drew, Eddie Hearns has his hands in this. They've got some negotiation with Canelo for 2 fights. And we know that Eddie Hearns' fighter is B.J. Saunders. It's going to be in-house DAZN. Canelo hasn't walked away from DAZN yet. And in Mexican-Americans, households all across America and in Mexico, Cinco de Mayo weekend is almost a holy holiday. And so it's we know we don't want Canelo to face they don't want Canelo to face anybody who might potentially injure him or put him out of commission for a big Mexican holiday fight. And that fight could be B.J. Saunders. Now, if that's all what this is about, Drew, is B.J. Saunders going to be a great Cinco de Mayo fight?
It could be. Like I think BJ at his best could beat Canelo Alvarez, but when it comes to this fight, I'm gonna say this. I understand fighters have to fight mandatories, and you know, to me, I don't consider this guy a mandatory because his last loss, he's coming off a 4th round knockout loss to Anthony Joel, which is ranked number 4 in the WBC, which I don't understand how when you knock the number 1 fighter out in the WBC. But the other thing was a treat that I looked at, and I answered this treat with my own treat because I didn't like the way. I think the dude's biased. I'm not gonna say his name, but he's a biased reporter. He's probably in his pocket, I guess. But when you have the nerve to call out fans for talking about Canelo taking this easy fight, but you criticize a Triple G or other fighters for taking on nobodies.
Okay.
And you
Triple G's last opponent, I mean, we could argue that he's in the same category as Avni Yildirim.
So, like, to attack fans like that, it pissed me off because you attack fans for making a point. But, hey, we know you love the dude, Canelo, but at the end of the day, he's doing the same thing. He's taking an easy fight. And you shouldn't be bashing fans for putting their opinion in, because at the end of the day, the fans make boxing a sport that people watch. At the end of the day, people are gonna have their opinions on fighters, and for you to call out fans and to shit all over fans for discussing an opinion about a fighter that you love so much, and when you made an opinion about other fighters, is a disgrace, and you shouldn't be talking about boxing, in my opinion, dude. You shouldn't be getting paid to write about boxing, in my opinion.
Oh my God.
That's why you got fired from your old job.
Oh my God. Do you even know who he was talking about? I don't even want to name him by name, but Drew's got a real beef with this boxing writer, and that's, it's just part of the game of boxing, man. All these boxing writers, huh? Shit.
I already talked him under the table already on Twitter. I'll do it again, too.
Ranger wants to take a guess? Did you say you wanted to take a guess?
You talk about Dan Raphael?
Oh, man. I don't know. I don't know who he's talking about, Mr. Philly Drew. Let's talk about the upcoming fight.
I'll DM you later, Ranger. I'll tell you.
If we were on the round table, they have this guy, Joe Habib from Ringside Reporters. Joe, he's very vocal about what boxing announcers, commentators, or reporters he doesn't like. He'd easily give him.
Joe get along just fine.
Yeah, he'd easily give him a big FU on his own show. And talking about the round table this weekend, I think Christy Martin, Hall of Fame female boxer, and also young prospect Xander Zayas, that I've met numerous times and have watched him developing in the career. Looking forward to that Thursday night on D Styles' YouTube boxing channel. That should be really, really good, as usual, guys. But this weekend we have a PBC fight. The battle of the Caleb's, 168 pounds, as we segue from Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez, the 168-pound fighter who's looking to unify. Does Caleb Plant have anything to worry about this weekend with Caleb Truax? Ranger.
I got to be respectful much as I can, because I don't think so. Caleb Plant is a very good boxer, and the opponent he's going up against offers no danger at all. Caleb Plant is an interesting case to me, because Caleb Plant, he gets in the cameras, he acts like he's the guy calling everybody out. He acts like he's the guy being ducked by everybody, but then when the opportunities present themselves, he turns them down, and then he winds up fighting fights like this one. So I kind of have mixed feelings when it comes to Caleb Plant. Not knocking him on his boxing skills. He's got good boxing skills. But I think this will be another just easy win for him.
And you're referencing to the potential showdown he had with Canelo Alvarez, and Canelo's team had made some kind of an offer to him. And for whatever reason in negotiation, that fight didn't materialize. And most boxing fans only want to see three guys get it on, and that's Caleb Plant, David Benavidez, and Canelo Alvarez. Maybe BJ Saunders in that mix. So your thoughts on Caleb maybe ducking Canelo, and what he has to do to win back boxing fans this weekend, to make an argument that he's the best at 168 pounds?
I think he needs to obliterate this guy quick, knock him out in less than 5 rounds. But before knocking him out, he needs to put a hurting on him, and then start calling out and live up to the expectations. It's enough of this. Well, I call him out first, and enough of that. We're not in kindergarten here. We're not in preschool anymore. This is the blood game, bro. Just, if you're gonna open your mouth, back it up, man, and stay in the gym. Every champion that has the potential to land a fight against the cash cow, against the #1 guy of the division, needs to be a slave to the gym. So when he gets that call, he won't go, well, 30 days is just not enough for me. It should be. It should be if you're trying to be big, because those phone calls come once in a lifetime, maybe twice in a lifetime.
Most definitely. Drew, your thoughts on Caleb Plant possibly ducking Canelo with that 30-day excuse?
Well, you can. There's a couple of reasons you can say why he didn't take the fight. Maybe he wanted to work on his resume or beat another top fighter in the division, like unify the division, and try to make more money off of a Canelo fight, more money than he was being offered. Use that as an excuse, but I think he can beat Canelo. And that's what people. And I talked to a couple. Talked to a couple of my boys the other day about this. And one of my boys brought up Caleb Plant that can beat Canelo. He thinks that can beat Canelo. I said Billy Joe and Caleb Plant I thought can beat Canelo. But I said there are a couple of fights that Canelo won't take. A Charlo fight, a Demetrius Andre fight, and most likely a David Benavidez fight.
All guys I'd like to see him get in the ring with, Rangers. All those guys I think would be worthy opponents of Canelo Alvarez in 2021 or 2022.
But Caleb is that more of that under the radar type of champion right now, because he's not being talked about as much as these other as much as like a David Benavidez, a Canelo, because other than Canelo, this division isn't really being talked about as much as it used to be during the Super 6 days.
Well, maybe it was more popular during that. And again, Ranger, we don't see these tournaments. We don't see anybody signing up or hollering and screaming saying, hey, let's get a tournament going at lightweight. I'd love to see that a tournament and somebody emerge as the true lightweight.
For a heavyweight tournament.
Heavyweight tournaments would do well in the ratings.
You only seeing tournaments at cruiserweight, a yearly tournament. And maybe you'll see it at a Bridgerweight
someday. Bridgerweight, it's a hot new
nobody wants
division.
to fight at Bridgerweight, whatever that division name is, man. For that division, for that belt away. Matter of fact, send that belt to me. I'll take that belt.
If I keep eating, I'll qualify for the Bridgerweight.
I weigh over 200 pounds.
I may. So let's just give our predictions right now as we get ready to wrap up the show. I'm going to say Caleb Plant wins this one handily and easily, but hopefully entertainingly. Ranger, your prediction on Saturday's fight?
I say he's going to outbox his opponent. I'm hoping for a knockout, but I doubt it's going to happen.
And Drew, do you see this the same way as both of us do? Easy win for Caleb Plant?
It's going to be sweetness.
The sweetest. And by the way, Caleb Plant's another guy from the South that moved to Las Vegas to make Las Vegas his home. We talked about that today, but I definitely think that he's going to need to do something impressive, and I hope he calls out David Benavidez or Canelo Alvarez. All right, I'm your host, Dave, from the 408. This has been great. It's the Shoeshine every Monday. I'm going to start getting back in. We're going to launch the YouTube channel. Don't forget to check us out on Leave It in the Ring Network, also the Leave It in the Ring Roundtable. Ranger, RawboxingTv on YouTube. You've been putting out some great content this weekend. I caught some of your content. Tell us where we can find your content.
Sure, man. Yeah, here on Twitter at RawboxingTV. Also, if you go to YouTube, you can find me under that as well. RawboxingTV, all one word, all together. We try to keep our content as logical, as unbiased, and as little emotion as possible. Today we had a great show. Just before joining in here, we relived live one of the greatest boxing matches of all time, the Barrera and Morales first fight. I had a couple of guys that joined me to relive that fight, and we was able to have fun. That's something I want to start doing with everybody that follows me. I'll throw the link so they can join me. We can go over the fights and talk. And I've had a busy day, man, and I appreciate you having me over.
No, I most definitely appreciate you. And Mr. Philly Drew Irish, my boy's still building his Twitch channel, and of course, we've been doing the Shoeshine for a while. Drew, you's back up on the Twitch?
Yeah, you guys can follow me at twitch.tv/DrewE85. I'm trying to get my grind for partnership on Twitch. Gotta get my views up, but I also set up my YouTube channel, Philly Irish Drew Evo. I'm gonna make it, gaming content, unboxing, reviews, and sports talk, but I also want to shout out that my boy Classic Keys. He recently, his rap album came out. It's on YouTube and Spotify. It's called Return Home, and I listened to the album. It's fire. Every
shoot.
song.
All right, well, let's hear it. I want to hear it next week. A quick shout out to my kid brother who's celebrating his birthday today. And also, Drew, you mentioned Christian brothers. My story with that, and I don't want to give away my age, but I will today because I went to Catholic high school in the Bay Area, and I got to play against, and I say this on every podcast, everybody's show. I haven't said it yet on Leave It in the Ring, but I got to play against Tom Brady 2 years in a row in high school football. And I'll tell you this, that you never can underestimate people, even looking back in the rearview mirror. Because at the time, not a thought in my head, I'm playing against the guy who's going to be the greatest quarterback in NFL history. And he did score against me. I was just a freshman kid, and I was a cornerback, and I wasn't particularly fast. So I'll always have that memory, and I've always had that memory watching Tom Brady play football during his football career, that he scored easily against me. But even then, who would have known that he'd be the greatest quarterback ever, possibly in NFL history, maybe 7 rings, even better than any 49ers what we went through. So shout out to my old high school. They know which high school that is. I'm not going to dox myself. And everyone who enjoys the Shoeshine live stream, I'm Dave from the 408. Thanks a lot, Ranger, RawboxingTV, Philly Drew Irish. We'll check you guys out next week. Peace.
Peace.